We are doing something exciting today and having a go at incubating our eggs. I'm going to show you what we're doing, but disclaimer, we have never done this before. So we've done a lot of reading about how to incubate specifically duck eggs, which is what we have. We have 4 ducks in our garden, 1 Indian runner drake, a boy duck, and 3 Khaki Campbell girls. So we are going to try and hatch some ducklings. If you're new here, hi, I'm Kezia, and my goal on the internet is to make sustainable, lower footprint living feel a little less complicated and a bit more budget friendly. And for us, having ducks here is part of bringing a little bit more of what we eat close to home, but also the ducks are part of helping our garden. So they eat the slugs, which helps our food grow better, what we're growing in the garden, and they provide amazing manure compost that can go straight on to the garden. So they help the little ecosystem of our 1/3 of an acre here in the south of England. So that is where ducks fit in our journey. I found it impossible to find the ducklings that we wanted last year when we first got 5. We don't have 5 anymore. The fox has struck. But I found it really hard to find the ducklings that we wanted. That is why we're going to try and hatch a few more to increase the number that we have in our back garden. I will show you the incubator that we're using. We have borrowed it from a friend. Incubating chicken eggs is different from incubating duck eggs, and you don't have to incubate at all. Obviously, a chicken can sit on eggs, a duck can sit on eggs. We have had a chicken that has gone broody, which is when her temperature rises and she sits and she is incubating the eggs herself. However, the ducks that we have, Khaki Campbells, are not very good mothers, so they don't tend to go broody. You can't tell them to do it. It's hormones and it happens when it happens. So to get ducklings from this kind of duck, you're typically going to have to use an incubator. So that is what we're doing. It is a JANOEL 12 incubator, and it's going to take about 9 eggs inside. I'll show you inside. We've been watching the incubator for a few days to try and get exactly the right temperature and the right humidity. We're looking for about 37.5 degrees and about a 55% humidity. So that is what we've been trying to get, and I will show you how we set it up. In terms of the eggs, you want the freshest eggs possible. This one I'm shaking around actually has a crack in it. My daughter got too excited about collecting the eggs to pop them in the incubator, and this one cracked. But we have kept the last 3 days worth of eggs, so they are fresh. Eggs have a bloom on the outside which protects the egg, so they are not washed. We gave them fresh straw, but they lay where they want to lay, and sometimes they're messy and dirty. So the eggs are not all completely clean, but we're going to pop them in there without washing because you don't want to wash off that bloom. So they will go in as they are. But let's look at how we set this incubator up. It's a pretty simple incubator. I'll take the top off for you so you can see. On the top, we have got the temperature control setting. So there's no humidity setting. There is just a temperature control setting. We can set this to what we want it to be. And then it's just got the work light on, so we're not setting it. I have it set a little below the 37.5 that we want because I have also got my own thermometers inside, and we are looking at what they say as well. All the mechanism for heating is in the top here, and we'll talk about this part in a moment. I'm going to switch it off so it is quiet for a minute. Then in the bottom here, underneath these 2 racks, we have poured our water. So this is what's going to give the humidity that we need. The surface area is what affects the humidity, not the amount of water. Then we're going to put this one in to cover up the water. And then it has this second one on top. These grooves are going to be what keeps this in place as it tracks back and forth. It's important to keep the eggs moving as they incubate, which normally the mother duck would do, but these are gonna rotate automatically back and forward like this on those runners, which means that the developing duckling doesn't get stuck at the top or stuck underneath. It's rotating. We will also mark the eggs with a pencil just so that we can make sure it's happening. But that is how that is going to work. This particular model these are adjustable, so you can pop them in if you want to do smaller or larger eggs. And then this sits on top. Because humidity really matters, I got these little humidity monitors. So they're going to both double check. Some of the reviews that I saw of this particular model said that the display on top is not 100% accurate. Having two also lets us check that the humidity is not wildly different on either end. And then I'm going to place them here so we can read them from the outside. Okay, so we've got our water in the bottom. We haven't put our eggs in yet. We're just going to make sure that this little pin here is fitting directly into this slot in here. So that's what's going to help it track back and forth as it moves. So I'm going to do that and then flick it on, and it's flashing L because it's a low temp and it is heating up. So we're going to let that heat up, and you can see we can check through the sides. It's a little hard to see, but currently we've got 40% humidity down here and 29.3 reading on there, which so we want to get up to 37.5. If the humidity is getting too high, we're just going to pop a little piece of paper in here, which will let some of the humidity out, and then the thermostat will compensate and get it to the right temperature. So we're going to let that come up to the right temperature, the right humidity. We have had it going for a few days, so we know we can balance out the humidity and the temperature and have it all right. And then we will pop in our eggs. We do want to wash our hands before we touch the eggs because they are porous, so bacteria can get in. So we want to keep everything clean, but we'll put those in when it's got to the right temperature and humidity. We're going to just look at the eggs. We're going to use a torch. This is, they call it candling, and we're going to do this to check the eggs for any cracks. So this will show up hairline cracks that you might not see just with your eye. But do you want to grab the one that is cracked? And you can see this crack is a big crack, so you can see it with your eye, but it shows up, every little crack shows up a lot more when we candle it. And then this we will use on certain days through the process to check the developing eggs. We'll see a web after a few days as the embryo starts to develop, and we can just make sure that they're developing right and see if any of them are duds. But that's kind of our only way to keep a pulse on the process. Okay, it's taken about 15 minutes of letting the machine get to the right place, and I think we are ready. So we are reading 51% humidity. We want between 45 and 55, and the temperature is right on 37.5. So I think we're ready to put our eggs in. Obviously those numbers are going to change when we take the lid off, but also the reason we want to get the right humidity is because there's a lot of liquid in the egg, and we want that to be able to dry out correctly. If we don't dry the liquid out through the growing process, which is 28 days, if we don't dry that out, then the duckling is going to drown, which we don't want. So that's why the humidity really matters, is we need to get the amount of liquid to exactly the right place by hatch. We'll change the humidity later on at about day 21, but for the first 21 days, we are at just where we want to be. Okay, so we're going to really carefully pop them in. I'm so excited. Okay, everyone is here to do this together. So we're going to take the lid off. This is going to obviously affect those numbers, but that is fine. We're going to put these in here, here. Now, these two are the two older ones. You've got to decide how many we want to do. Okay, we're going to put those. That one's a bigger one. We're going to pop it in there. 7. That's 8. Should we do 8?
Yeah,
Should we pop 8 in? We're not doing any more, so then we just need to check. Can we all rotate? We can all rotate. Okay, the only other thing I want to do is a careful cross. This way we'll be able to tell, to just make sure that they're all rotating. So a mother duck would rotate the eggs herself, but obviously we're doing this in an incubator, so we just want to be able to tell that they're all rotating. So they're all in place. Now we're going to pop this back on, just making sure that that piece is set in there. And we're going to pop this little piece of paper in because that's keeping the humidity to the right point. And then it's going to come back up there, and we'll get back to the right humidity. But that is
it takes 4 weeks.
It does take 4 weeks.
For the eggs to hatch.
Okay, so we have this in our kitchen because it is a spot where the sunlight doesn't hit, so it is protected. No one's going to throw a basketball at it. The sun doesn't shine directly on it. It's close to a power outlet. This was the only spot in the house that felt like the perfect spot. It's going to sit here. We will monitor it all the time. I'm going to be like a hawk over this. 4 weeks. My daughter's telling me 4 weeks. It takes 4 weeks, about 28 days. It's
For it to hatch.
for them to hatch. Okay, so stay tuned. We will keep you in on the process. I'm not going to lie. I am nervous. But we'll keep you posted. If you want to jump ahead and see the process from when they have hatched, we picked up our last batch when they were a week old. So we have a video showing bringing them home, and then also a chat about why after years of doing chickens and having chickens, we switched to ducks and what our experience has been, what the cost was, and different things like that. So I will put those both on the screen for you here, and I will see you back in another video sometime soon.